Hello, welcome. My name is Ray Hayslip again on Games Analysis and Producer Perspectives. Today we're going to talk about being a project manager or producer in a saturated market, specifically a market if you're looking to be an independent game developer or if you want to be in the AAA game development space. And you've probably noticed this before. You go to Steam or Good Old Games or Epic Game Store, whatever one of the downloader clients you want to use if you're into PC gaming, and you are just inundated with different titles to play. Fun little factoid I like to teach in my classes when it comes to making video games is right now, there are about 1,000 video games that get released to Steam every single month. That's a lot. I don't think that's as many books are published every single. I don't think that's as many books are published every single month. I think the amount of books, especially the AI generated books that are generated every single month, are way more than that. But that's more content than you can capably ever play in your lifetime or the lifetime of possibly everybody you know. It's just too much. So if you were to make a game, how do you get your voice out there, your game quality out there? How do you get your art out there? And I think that's a good conversation to have. And I don't have the answers to it. I'm not going to say that this particular podcast, you could sit down and say, okay, well, here's how you do it. Well, no, not necessarily. I'm going to actually say that there's going to be some industry changes that need to happen that are going to help get many people's artistic voice out there. So first things first, the 1,000 video games that get released to Steam every single month, we'll just say Steam because it's the most popular one. A lot of them are trash. A lot of them are pornographic games. A lot of them are kind of like mobile game slop that are kind of put out there by people that are sort of testing the waters to try to make it big. They want to sell a couple of Steam stickers or cards or something like that, try to game the system that way. There's a whole cottage industry that makes money off of that. That's not worth getting into right now. Just know that it exists. What we are talking about are legitimate people that want to legitimately put their games out there and try to make it out there. Well, first thing we need to do is we need to talk about the return of publisher-backed, medium quality, small games. I'm talking, you have AAA games. They come out all the time. You have $60, $70, and heaven forfend soon, $80 video games that come out all of the time. And of varying quality. There are plenty of AAA video games that come out and super miss the mark, but you don't have a lot of publisher-supported, medium-quality, independent games, not as much as you used to. Nintendo is actually the best about this. I think I've said before, if your game gets onto a Nintendo Direct, and they usually host a Nintendo Direct once every like 4 or 3 months or something like that, that's really good independent game support. That's a very good one. It used to be, though, you could get independent publisher supported. Well, they were smaller studios. They didn't really call them independent studios, but smaller publisher supported studios go into a GameStop or an electronics boutique before they start calling them something else. Well, I think they also used to be called Funko Land, what have you, game stores. I think in England they were just called Game, which is the least creative name ever. And you can walk in there with about, $40 and walk out with quite a large handful of games. Some of them new, maybe you get a brand new video game for like $19.99. We don't have that much anymore. And physical versions of it, you could probably find some digital ones. And I think there needs to be a lot more support of that. If you're watching the video version of this, you might see the game that I bought recently and I played called Mighty Goose. It was a game released in 2021. You play a space bounty hunter goose with cybernetic arms and a pair of cybernetic legs and a gun mounted to one of those arms. And You do just random missions. It plays a lot like the old Metal Slug games, and I was able to get it for, I do believe it was $6 on sale. Normally the game costs $20. I'm going to actively say out loud on this podcast in front of all that listens, do not buy this game for $20. It is, to me, not worth $20 because you could beat the game in about 3 to 4 hours. I don't think that's $20 worth. Your mileage may vary. You can go ahead and beat New Game Plus. In my opinion, that's up to you. You could still just watch the credits roll in about 3 to 4 hours. I don't know if that's $20 worth. $6 though, absolutely worth it. And I enjoyed every single moment of it. And if you're watching in the background, you're like, whoa, this game looks really kind of neat. A lot of you probably have never heard of this game. That's understandable. It's made by a very small indie studio of about 3 to 4 people in the Netherlands. I do believe it's called Blast Mode Games, and MP2 Games made this game. So I wish this game got a lot more marketing. I wish this game was put out to more people. You can buy it for just about every console: PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One. I played it on Steam. There's also a PS4 version. It's so weird to me that there wasn't more talk about this. But anyways, you should play that. Games like that should get more marketing. Small little games. Small games that won't take up an entire day's worth of time. Small games that you can put a couple bucks down, play it, and beat it in an afternoon. It looks great. It sounds great. It's got a clever concept, and it has a dedicated honk button. What more are you asking for out there? Another video game I'm playing right now is Clair Obscura Expedition 33. A game made by, I do believe it was a grand total of 80 people when you get right down to it. It started off with a core team of 30 people, and I do believe it had 50 different subcontractors attached to it. Made by a developer that was just bored at Ubisoft and wanted to actually make a game that they really liked. And it took them about 4.5 years to make this game. I've been about half an hour to 1 hour into the game, and it's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating video game. It's like a lovely transition of like an older version of Final Fantasy X smashed in with Dark Souls, if that makes sense. And very, very, very much leans onto the fact that the core development team was French. Like, this is the most French video game I think I've ever played. And it eventually was picked up by a publisher, and the development team did not expect to sell as many copies. I tried so hard to get a physical copy of this game. Impossible. There just weren't enough copies ever produced. I didn't think it would sell that well. I do believe the game has sold well north of 3 million copies. For as small of a team as that is a rousing success. And it was only $50, $49.99. It wasn't no $60, it wasn't no $70 or $80 game. It was a modest price of $50, and supposedly it takes about 30 hours to beat this game. So I'm looking forward, after I'm done with this podcast, to going back and playing more of that. But that's what I mean. We need more of these games where it is small teams taking a chance out there, and those teams need to be marketed more heavily. You're going to have flops, you're going to have misses, but I would love to see more project managers and producers, especially budding ones, that are willing to not work for large studios, but willing to work for smaller studios to take this chance. Because then you get great titles like these two that I'm just talking about. You're not going to get super rich off of it, but if you strike it big, you'll be comfortable. And that's all anybody really asks for, I believe, at the end of the day. Just to be comfortable. I want more developers to also stop looking at gigantic price tags of $60, $70, $80. I want more $20 games. I want more smaller games released by larger studios. I want 3 to 4 hour to 5 hour games. I'm okay with that. Give me a 6 hour game and I give you $5 or something like that. Or give me a game that takes me, I don't know, 3 hours to beat. It's like an experimental student project. Charge me $1 for it. Do it. It's fine. I'll pay the $1. It's cool. I know that's, to some people, they will say like, well, that's trash. That could be junk. It doesn't have to be. It never had to be. We used to live in a society where we would release these smaller, tiny games that people would place on the side. And I know the Steam store is full of these small, tiny independent games, but I'm talking large publisher-backed ones where they have a little bit of marketing behind them. Dip into your coffers as opposed to spending, we'll say, and I'm going to pick on this game, as opposed to spending $200 million or whatever it costs on the next Spider-Man game. Why not spend $100 million on whatever the next Spider-Man game will be? You know, cut back a little bit on there and spend the rest of that money, that extra $100 million, supporting a bunch of smaller games to go ahead and appease the interest of everyone. It's cool. I think that would be fine. You would take a lot more chances, take a lot more risks, get a lot more people out there, and that will help make the game industry a lot healthier. You start seeing a lot less layoffs and a lot more people being entertained. You don't have to have everybody play your game. You just have to have a small segment of people with a couple bucks in their pocket play the game. Now, these large tentpole games, like we'll say Doom: The Dark Ages, which just recently came out, I haven't played it yet because I don't feel like paying $70 for it yet, if I'm being perfectly honest. Those games are allowed to exist, but one thing that I want those larger studios to do with games like that, I want more unions. I absolutely want the workers of those games, the developers, the publisher, I want them all taken care of, and I want to know that they're being taken care of. Just recently, just 1 week ago, actually a couple days ago while I was recording this, I'm actually recording this June 2nd, so I do believe it was May 30th, May 31st, the brand new union in ZeniMax, United CWA, that union is starting to reach and almost ratify a contract for ZeniMax Media, the publisher for Doom: The Dark Ages. I want that. If you're going to have like hundreds and hundreds, in the case of ZeniMax, thousands and thousands of employees, I want to know they're taken care of. If you're going to charge a lot of money for that game, I want it to be worth it. I don't want to feel like I bought this game and like a couple months later, even though the game was wildly successful, I actually don't know if Doom: The Dark Ages was wildly successful or not. Let's pretend for the sake of argument it was or is. If that game's wildly successful, I want to know those employees aren't going to get laid off while I'm enjoying this game. I think we've reached that point in the gaming market where those are questions that we have to ask. Like, am I buying this game to support the devs? Or does it not matter if I'm supporting the devs? You're just going to lay them off anyways because it didn't make enough money. We're spending a lot of money nowadays on making games, but I don't think we're spending a lot of money on the employees making those games and retaining them and doing it in smart ways. So we need to decrease the saturation and do it smartly. And we need more small studios. We need more hungry studios that are out there with an idea and a plan. Give them the resources to do something great and make sure they're taken care of. What can you as a producer or a project manager do about that? Well, there's new studios popping up all the time, no matter where you are. There's a couple of them in the Midwest that just popped up. They need help. And they need help by people that are going to be well organized, and it's going to be up to us, the production people, to push for more organization and more smart organization. Take less risks. You can take some risk, but take less giant risks, as in saying, hey, let's spend $70 million making this game. And then when you make $50 million in sales back, which by most metrics for an independent game is successful, you're like, well, it wasn't the 70 million. We didn't break even, so we got to start letting people go, which is insane to me. Let's stop that. Yeah, this is kind of a short one today, but that's kind of what I want. I want less saturation and more filtered out games, more games that are well supported. All right. I'd love to know what you think. Tell me what you think in the comments. If you want to go ahead and write an email, and I can go ahead and read it out in the podcast, write to unscriptpodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to go ahead and hear your thoughts, and I hope you have yourself a fine day today.